When I moved into this house 5 years ago, I had this idealistic picture in my head. Friendly waves across the lawn, borrowing a cup of sugar, maybe chatting over the fence about the weather. Instead, I got them. The neighbors to my left were already well into their 70s. From day one, there was this tension, not open hostility, just a constant feeling like you were being watched, measured, silently judged. Their house bristled with cameras. Not one or two, I mean covering every angle. Front yard, driveway, sidewalk. You could practically feel the lenses tracking movement like a low-budget surveillance state. Still, I kept things cordial, smile, nod. Keep the peace. Because sometimes harmony is worth more than being right. For a while, it worked. Until last summer, my partner had a friend visiting bachelor trip. Nothing wild, and he parked in front of their house for about a day. There was plenty of space. Their huge truck? Parked. Their Jeep? Parked. The empty curb in front of the house on the other side? Wide open. But apparently, this was a crime. One afternoon, I watched from the window as the husband, this thin, permanently scowling man, shuffled outside, locked eyes with my partner, and made a crude, jerking off motion. Not once, twice. Something in my chest went tight. That hot, prickly feeling that starts in your shoulders when you realize someone has crossed from annoying into deeply disrespectful. My partner just shook his head and walked inside. We told ourselves it wasn't worth escalating. From then on, we avoided parking in front of their house whenever possible. Not because they were right, because they weren't worth the energy, but I never forgot and deep down. I knew I was done pretending. Fast forward to MLK Day, a rare morning off. No alarms. Sun barely peeking through the curtains. I was cocooned in that perfect half-sleep when I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. Someone knocking hard enough to rattle the doorframe. I glanced at the clock, 8 o'clock a.m. My first thought, if this isn't an emergency, whoever it is can wait. So I rolled over and went back to sleep. Later, my partner left for therapy. On his way out, the neighbor intercepted him, that stiff, confrontational stance, chin lifted like he was delivering a warning. Yeah, he said. We called the cops on you. You keep parking too close to our car. The officer was going to ticket you, but I told him I'd talk to you first. My partner, who hates conflict like most people hate dental drills, just shrugged and left. When he told me hours later, I felt that familiar tightening in my stomach. Something didn't add up. First, I was parked in front of my own house. Not illegally, not blocking anything. And I'd left at least 2 feet of space between the cars. Second, if an officer intended to ticket me, I would have been ticketed. No note. No warning, just this story. It smelled like intimidation. So I did what any curious, slightly stubborn person would do. I called the non-emergency police line. Hi, I said, trying to keep my voice light. I was told an officer came by this morning about a parking issue. Could I speak with them? A few minutes later, I was explaining the situation. There was a pause, then a chuckle, a tired, knowing sigh. Yeah, the officer said. I wasn't going to ticket you. Your neighbor seemed grumpy. Grumpy. That word landed like validation. He even mentioned they get calls from these. Neighbors regularly over minor complaints, imagined issues, you name it. We chatted briefly. And before hanging up, he said they could do house checks while we were away for our honeymoon. I hung up feeling lighter. Also, a little mischievous, I stepped outside. The air was crisp. Quiet neighborhood. Birds chirping like nothing in the world was wrong. I walked to my car and slowly, deliberately nudged it forward, just a bit, now instead of 2 feet. There was about 1 as I stepped out. I closed the door with a soft click, turned toward their camera because of course they were watching, leaned slightly and flashed a peace sign. Not aggressive, not obscene, just calm. A tiny gesture that said, I'm not afraid of you. A few hours passed. Then I noticed a patrol car parked outside their house. Apparently, the peace sign had caused distress. Later, an officer came to our door. I opened it. Heart steady. He explained the neighbor had shown him footage. Claiming I flipped them off, I almost laughed. No, I said, showing him with my fingers. It was this. He nodded, clearly understanding. Then I told him everything. The gestures. The false claims, the attempts to scare us, the history of complaints. How our neighbors on the right, a kind family who'd endured racially charged comments, had also struggled with them. "I know you're just the middleman," I said. "But I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm going to park where I'm allowed." He gave a subtle nod, the kind that says more than words. "Just keep it legal," he said. "Absolutely." When he left, I felt something shift inside me, not anger, relief, because for the first time, I realized their power was an illusion. From that day on, I parked carefully, precisely, 1 foot from their Jeep's rear bumper, still fully within my rights, still in front of my house. Every time I stepped out, I could feel their attention like heat on the back of my neck, curtains twitching, cameras humming. But I went about my day working from home, sipping coffee, enjoying the quiet satisfaction of refusing to be bullied. If they called the police again, find out if they complained. Fine, because every visit just reinforced the truth. I was doing nothing wrong, and they knew it. The real payoff wasn't dramatic. No shouting match, no big confrontation. It was something subtler and, in a way, sweeter. Watching their attempts to control fail. Seeing that simmering frustration. When they realized I wouldn't tiptoe around their demands anymore, knowing that every call they made only documented their behavior. Further. And most of all, feeling the quiet confidence that comes when you stop shrinking yourself for someone else's comfort. One afternoon, I caught a glimpse of the husband standing in his driveway, staring at the gap between our cars like it personally offended him. I gave a small nod. He said nothing for once. Silence. Not every act of revenge is loud. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be pushed, calmly, legally, unapologetically. And sometimes the most satisfying justice is letting someone stew in the consequences of their own behavior. If this story hit home, if you've ever dealt with neighbors, coworkers, or anyone who tried to bully you, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, what's the pettiest but most satisfying boundary you've ever set? And don't forget to subscribe, because there are plenty more revenge stories where this came from.